crucified, people in his following were scared and terrified. They thought the dream was over. And 3 days later, he rose up out of that grave, and suddenly everything was very exciting. But for some of those men, there was also the fear of having denied Jesus, having not stood with him on the worst day of his life. There was some guilt, fear. Jesus restored all of them. He forgave all of them. But he told them, you should have seen it coming. It's not like that he'd kept it a secret, and it's not like the Scriptures had kept it a secret. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't a surprise to anybody that was paying attention. And in the second part of Luke there, in 24 verses 36 to 53, Jesus makes it clear that the resurrection itself is a promise to you. Had Jesus done everything that he had said in the Scriptures, but not risen from the dead, we would have nothing. We could go home. The New Testament even says that if Jesus did not raise from the dead, we are to be pitied as fools. Because the man said he was going to raise from the dead. Now, you can't accept him as a good and wise teacher, but not the Messiah. You can't say, well, he was just a good teacher like there have been many good teachers, because good teachers don't come into the classroom and says, hey, the whole world's problems will be solved if you just kill me. And then 3 days later, I'll rise from the dead. We tend to go to the PTA meetings and ask for that teacher's resignation. If Jesus hadn't raised from the dead, we'd have nothing. Nothing to hope for, nothing to meet here for, nothing represented in this table. But because he raised from the dead, we're told, you have the promise that you will one day raise with him. That in the twinkling of an eye, like a thief in the night, the dead will rise in Christ, and then those living in him will rise, and we will join him. But again, you should have seen it coming. They had the Old Testament, and the Old Testament was full of images and stories about what the Messiah was going to do. And any student of the Scripture of those days was scared of Jesus, not because he was making things up, but because what he was saying and doing was so in line with what the Old Testament was telling them. 2,000 years before Jesus was born, Israel found itself to be slaves in Egypt. They were slaves for a few hundred years, helping Egypt to build its great monuments, to build its great civilization. And each year, each new each new king of Egypt, Pharaoh, that's the word I'm looking for. Each new Pharaoh came to despise and belittle the Hebrew people even further. Moses, you know the story. At a time when the king of Egypt feared a Hebrew child, his mother hid him in a boat and put him down the river. He was raised up in the household of Pharaoh, in the royal courts, until he knew his heritage and he escaped into the wilderness. And God gave him a job. Set my people free. He went back and, well, you know the story. Eventually, Israel marches out of Egypt and right into the wilderness. And you've had those times in your life before. You're on a journey to some promise, but the journey's hard and you want to give up. They got into the wilderness. Now they were free. They were no longer slaves, but it was hard work. We want to go back. Man, in Egypt, we had a bed. We had a floor. We had a rock, and there was food there was onions every day. We got to eat onions every day, but they were onions, and we had water. And it says in Exodus chapter 17 that they came out of the valley of sin. Isn't that a great name? S-I-N. It's what it says in most of your Bibles. The valley or the wilderness of sin. It's actually, in Hebrew, it's Zen. But, I like to say sin because that kind of strikes a nerve. Because the wandering in the wilderness was a symbol of wandering in sin. And as they're wandering around and they come out of the valley of sin, they stop at a place called Rephidim. And Rephidim is a dry, rainless, waterless desert. And here you have upwards to 1 million people marching. And they've been marching through this desert, and finally they come to speak against Moses. Moses, you brought us out of Egypt just to die here. Well, that's logical. Yeah, I got you. I did all those things God asked me to do, and he brought all those miracles just so you'd come out here and starve to death. That's exactly what our plan was. But when you're hungry and you're thirsty, you don't think straight, do you? And these people were so mad at Moses, you brought us out here to die. Moses prays. And he says to the Lord, Lord, they're about to stone me to death. What are we going to do? And God, in his cool and collected way, when we're all chickens with our heads cut off, oh, what are we going to do? He says, calm down, chill out. I got a plan. I'll tell you what I want you to do. Moses, I want you to take the staff that you used to perform miracles in Egypt. I want you to take that staff that turned the Nile River into blood. I want you to take that staff and I want you to go to the rock and I want you to strike the rock with your staff. And out of that rock will come all the water the people will ever need today. You see, the staff